What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. Like a week ago, Mr. Cesar Hernandez said 80 to life. Watch this. And went for it, right? Went on the run. And is still out there somewhere, living his best life. So people have made a lot of videos about it. I've seen some of them folks have been asking me for my opinion. And so I figured there's a couple things I'll touch on real quick, right? First is I hear some folks saying, well, the CO couldn't shoot, right? Because the California model and California's so criminal friendly and all this other stuff. And there's a conversation there. I think it gets a little twisted, but there's a conversation there, but not really in this case, because the Department of Operations Manual says that if a CO reasonably believes that somebody's trying to escape, they can use deadly force. Okay, well, when a guy in orange that was just shackled is now running across a grassy field, pretty fucking reasonable what he's up to. And the CO could have shot. I don't think that was a taser. I think that was a gun. In all my years of being transported in CDCR, the COs always had weapons. I'll get to that in a second. But I think the issue is the CO couldn't aim, right? I think he was panicked. He clearly couldn't breathe very well, right? He wasn't in the best shape. Even as he's pointing a gun, it's kind of going this way with each step that he takes. And I think he froze up. He either froze up or he didn't feel like he can get a good shot off it and didn't want to be reckless, which is probably a good thing, right? You don't want to hit some innocent bystander. And to be honest, I'm not mad that the dude didn't get hit. So take your chance, right? Now, if you're hurting children or something like that, it's a different story, but those are the people least likely to be harmed by police, oddly enough. So I don't think that's it. I heard this lady who apparently lives in Delano somewhere close, and her news clip was floating around where she said, I was in CDCR for 12 years and this was an inside job. That's how I know, because I used to be in prison. She falls into the trap a lot of us fall into, folks on YouTube and just in general. Prison changes over time, and I don't know when she did her time. It's been damn near 20 years since I did mine. So to look at a situation and be like, oh, I know exactly what this is because this is how it was when I was there. That's not how it works, right? I don't think it was an inside job. I think this guy just got the drop on him. He's doing 80 to life. He's getting caught with a banger in his cell, right? Weapons manufacturing. Supposedly he got caught with a bunch of bundles of heroin. They dropped those charges, but he's not coming home, right? When you have 80 to life and you're misbehaving on a GP level 4 yard, you're not likely to get a date anytime soon. And this was his shot. It was a status conference, which means that he had been out to court at this place before. So my guess is, and it's just a guess, obviously, but my guess is he went out to court. He saw some weaknesses in the process, right? They didn't put the black box, that kind of stuff on his cups, which is crazy to me because that was the norm when I was incarcerated. And it didn't matter how you were transported. I've ridden on buses from prison to prison, just like everybody else. I've gone out to local hospitals. I rode in the back of a car all the way from Salinas Valley to Vacaville with 2 COs when I went down there for surgery. So I've been transported multiple ways. I don't recall a time that the COs ever didn't have a weapon. COs aren't walking around the yard. They're not in R&R with a pistol on their hip. That's not how it works. It's not like regular patrol cops. But when you go through the gates and you're leaving the prison property, they stop, they come out, they walk around the car, they got their little mirrors and the sticks and, popping on the doors and everything else. And in that process, from what I recall, at least, you guys let me know in the comments, the COs pick up weapons, right? They get the shotgun, they put it in the trunk or whatever, they get their pistols, they do their thing. They prepare. They're not going to be driving around with a convict and no firearm. Now, something's changed in CDC. I don't imagine what would cause that practice to change. And the guy had something in his hand. So like I said, I think it was a gun. But this guy, Hernandez, I think he noticed a chink in the armor, right? He noticed a flaw. These COs are relaxed or damn, they're not putting a black box or whatever. So imagine this. You're sitting in a cell. You're a lifer. Like I said, it's a status conference. So he's been out to court before. This status conference is scheduled. They don't just pop up one day and say, oh, hey, guess what? You're going to court today. He knew when his court date was. You got a cell phone because everybody in prison has cell phones if they want one, right? And so he gets his cell phone. He's checking out Google Maps. He's looking at the layout, Google Earth or whatever. He's looking at the layout of the place. He sees that grassy field. He sees the side streets. He gets at his people. Hey, when I go to court, if everything goes right, I'm a dip. And why don't you just park over here on this little side street? If I make it to the car, cool. Adios. We out of there. If I don't make it to the car, if something happens, maybe they put the black box. Maybe I can't pop out. Okay, no harm, no foul. I go to court, right? If they shoot me as I'm running across the fucking field, then, hey, hear the gunshot and drive away, right? It's game over. But if I make it to the vehicle, we out. And that's my guess about what happened. It's not rocket science. And then what? You're like 5 hours from TJ, right? And is the law enforcement and CDCR and everybody else that efficient? You know, there's rarely escapes from prison. There's escape from the honor farms, to say places that don't have fences, you know, get escapes all the time. But rarely do you have escapes like this. You know, you don't have level 4 killers, quote unquote. In this case, I guess kind of literally. You don't have them escaping when they go out to court, right? That doesn't really happen. So were the systems in place to get word out where it needed to be fast enough? Probably not. Probably not. Would Border Patrol be at the border looking for this dude 5 hours after he jumps out of the van? Probably not. But even if they were, what car are they looking for? You know, they don't have a description. They know what he looks like. You should throw his ass in the trunk. You know, when you get to San Isidro and you pull up, get your little fast food, hey, fool, jump in the truck. We out. I don't know, but it's not difficult to get across the border, even, you know, especially if you're not going to go through an official crossing. But even at an official crossing, people don't really care about who comes from California into Mex. They care about who comes from Mex into California. So I think that's what happens. And this narrative of picking up extra cases, right, when you're on the run, you're just adding felonies on top of felonies. That is true. But that is true normally when you're either trying to get away and you didn't have a plan, right? So if he didn't have any help, if he didn't have anybody looking out for him, if this was just, you know, he got a little rabbit in his blood and decided, you know, today's the moment, then yes, because you got to get a car, right? So you're going to wind up stealing somebody, carjacking somebody. You're going to run up in a house, you know, robbing folks because you don't have anything. You don't have clothes. You don't have a vehicle. You don't have money. But if you have somebody helping you, you don't need to commit any crimes, you know, to get out of the country. And once you get out of the country, who knows? Who knows, right? Depends on how you're situated. You wind up being out there, come under a fake name and get a little job and whatnot. Now, this is not going to be in the news forever here. But CDCR and law enforcement and the feds, just because it's not going to be in the news cycle, they're not forgetting. I think that there is still an intense manhunt for this dude. And finding him in Mexico is not as difficult as I think some folks may believe. You know, law enforcement here and law enforcement in Mexico do communicate well. And there's plenty of situations in which people get picked up in Mex with felony warrants from California, and law enforcement there snatches them up and holds them, and California comes and gets them and brings them back. And so that may happen with this dude, or he may have the resources or connections to get folks to turn a blind eye. Who knows? But they're not going to stop hunting for him. Law enforcement, like, this is embarrassing, you know, for them. And they're not going to let it go. So he's going to be on the run forever. But his quality of life, he could be off somewhere living pretty decent right now. Living a hell of a lot better than he was living in that cell in Kern Valley. And it doesn't necessarily mean he's running around, you know, killing people and robbing people and all that stuff. Again, if he didn't have help, then I think, yeah, you know, because, you know, you got to commit crimes to get wherever you're going to go and to sustain yourself. But I feel like we probably would have heard about that. Delano's not a big city. We would have heard if people were getting carjacked or you know, they went in a house and found some dead bodies and some dude had ran through there and stuff. And so my guess is he had assistance. He got out of town. and now he's just trying to fly under the radar. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's in his own backyard, which would be stupid. But I think it's embarrassing. It's a bad look on CDCR. It can entice other people to wonder, like, shit, if he could do it, I could do it. Part of the thing with being in prison, part of the reason that there's not as many escapes is because I don't think there's a lot of folks sitting in prison plotting on escapes, right? Regardless what the TV says and the media, if you're in a level 3 or a level 4 prison, you're not really thinking you have a shot. You're not spending every day wondering how you're going to get out of there, right? You're trying to endure that you live there, but you're not trying to escape because you just assume escape's not going to happen, right? Nobody fucking escapes. And now that narrative is that bubble is burst. But shit, maybe we can get out, right? And I don't think people are going to be running across the yard hopping fences, but I would expect CDCR to really crack down on transportation of people. I'm kind of surprised that the prisons aren't still on lockdown. Normally they take advantage of stuff like this to leave people slammed, but maybe that's the California model side of things, right? Can't leave people locked down too long because it's bad for your mental health. But anyways, I wish the dude luck. I wish some luck out there, assuming that, again, he's not doing the unmentionable type stuff, which that's not what he was in prison for. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but they will never stop looking for this dude. But I don't think it was an inside job. I do think for some reason, CDCR their staff wasn't on their A game. They got too comfortable. They got too relaxed. Just like dudes doing time, generally speaking, don't really think about escaping because escaping doesn't really seem to be an option. It seems like some of the COs also fell into that complacency and that comfort of dude's not gonna try to escape. Nobody tries to escape. Stay on your toes. Situational awareness makes a big difference. So anyways, some of you guys had asked for my feedback on it. There you have it. Help others move with excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. And yeah, I hope he's out there eating good somewhere.